The Galactic Academy of Sciences was famous for having students from all over the universe. Today was special. The Academy was getting its first human student. "Class, we have a new student joining our xenobiology program," said Professor Zix Tillich. Her 6 arms moved gracefully as she spoke to the 23 alien students. "Please welcome Samuel Wright, our first student from Earth." The door opened with a quiet sound and a boy walked in. He had brown hair and blue eyes. He was 17 years old. Sam looked small and weak compared to the other students with their hard shells, tentacles, and large bodies. Lyra, who had shiny scales and 4 arms, leaned toward her friend Korik. Korik was big and had skin like rock. "That's a human? I thought he would look more impressive." "Earth is a death world, right?" Korik made a low rumbling sound. His eyes, which looked like crystals, narrowed. "Death worlds are just places with unusual numbers. High gravity, very hot. Or cold temperatures, dangerous animals. Nothing really special." Sam sat at an empty desk. He didn't seem to notice the whispers and stares. Professor Zix Tillich continued, "Mr. Wright comes from a planet with conditions many of you would find hard to survive. Earth is a Class 12 death world." The class was shocked. Class 12 was one of the most dangerous planet types. "The air alone would poison half of you," the professor said, "and its gravity would crush several of your species. This is exactly why we invited Mr. Wright to join us." Sam smiled politely, but his eyes showed he was nervous. "Now," Professor Zix Tillich's voice became more formal, "today we start learning about adaptive biology. We'll begin with a demonstration in the experimental chamber. Please follow me." As the class walked out, Lyra found herself next to the human. "So," she said, trying to sound casual, "what's it like living on a planet that's always trying to kill you?" Sam laughed, which startled several nearby students. "I never really thought about it that way. It's just ... home." The experimental chamber was a huge dome designed to copy conditions from different planets. Today it was set to match the gravity and air of Zellner 7. A jungle world with gravity about 1.3 times stronger than Earth's. "The task is simple," Professor Zix Tillich explained. "Go through the obstacle course and get the marker at the end. This will test how well you adapt to slightly stronger gravity." The alien students nodded with confidence. For many of them, this would be less gravity than on their home planets. Sam, however, looked worried. "Mr. Wright," the professor said directly to him, "if this is too hard for you, you can just watch." "I'll try it," Sam replied quietly. Lyra and her friends exchanged knowing looks. The human would surely struggle, which would at least be entertaining. The first few students went through the course easily. A student named Plek used his 6 legs to move quickly across the terrain. Korik simply smashed through obstacles that were meant to be climbed. When it was Lyra's turn, she used her multiple arms to swing and jump her way to success. Then it was Sam's turn. He started carefully, moving awkwardly under the increased gravity. Sweat formed on his forehead as he climbed the first obstacle, a 15-foot wall with few places to grip. "He's going to fall," whispered Drex, a jelly-like student who had simply flowed through the course. But Sam didn't fall. Despite his obvious struggle, he methodically worked through each challenge. When he reached a section where the ground shifted unexpectedly, he stumbled but quickly regained his balance and changed his approach. What impressed the watching aliens most was not his strength or speed. Both were clearly worse than many species present, but his determination. When he finally reached the marker, he was breathing hard and his face was red, but he had completed the course in a decent time. "Well done, Mr. Wright," Professor Zix Tillich said. "An impressive display of human adaptability." Sam nodded, too out of breath to speak. As they left the chamber, Lyra approached him. "You did better than I expected." "Thanks, I think," Sam replied with a smile. "We humans call that damning with faint praise." "I didn't mean to offend you," Lyra said quickly. "I'm just surprised by how long you could keep going." Sam shrugged. "On Earth, we have a saying, it's not about how hard you hit, but how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward." Lyra blinked her large, faceted eyes in confusion. "Your species values getting hit?" "It's a metaphor," Sam explained. "About not giving up." As they walked back to the classroom, several students found themselves thinking differently about the plain-looking human among them. 2 weeks later, the class gathered in a laboratory for their practical chemistry session. The assignment was to analyze and neutralize an unknown substance based on its molecular structure. Sam had been slowly earning respect from his classmates. While not the strongest or fastest, his problem-solving abilities and what Professor Zixtilek called thinking outside the box had proven valuable in group work. "Remember," the professor warned as she gave sealed containers to each workstation, "these substances are safe for most species, but be careful, some may react in unexpected ways with your biology." Lyra, now friendly with Sam, had been paired with him for the exercise. "I'll handle the first analysis," she offered, reaching one of her 4 hands toward the container. "My species can resist most corrosive substances." "Sounds good," Sam agreed, studying the holographic display of molecules floating above their workstation. The laboratory was busy with activity as students began their analyses. The peaceful atmosphere was broken by a sudden crash and hiss from across the room. One of the containers had fallen from Plek's workstation and cracked open, releasing a cloud of pale yellow gas. Alarm systems immediately turned on, with containment fields appearing around the affected area. But the gas had already spread to several nearby stations. "Everyone out now?" Professor Zixtilek called out, her usual calm manner replaced by urgent concern. "The substance is reacting with the air." The students rushed toward the exits, several already showing signs of distress. Korik had slowed down significantly, his rocky exterior beginning to harden. Drex was bubbling alarmingly, his jelly-like form becoming unstable. "Sam, come on," Lyra urged, already halfway to the door, but Sam wasn't following. Instead, he had grabbed a mask from the emergency kit and was moving toward Korik, who had now completely frozen in place. "What are you doing?" Lyra called back in alarm. "The gas is causing rapid hardening in rock-based life forms," Sam explained, his voice muffled by the mask. "Help me get Drex out first, he's the most at risk. I'll come back for Korik." Without waiting for an answer, Sam carefully lifted the bubbling Drex, whose normally clear body had turned bright orange. Lyra hesitated only for a moment before helping Sam, supporting Drex's increasingly unstable form. As they reached the door, Sam handed his part of Drex to another student. "Get to the cleaning chamber," he instructed, already turning back. "The air is becoming too toxic," Professor Zixtilek warned. "The emergency systems will clean it in about 40 seconds. "Korik doesn't have 40 seconds, Sam replied, already moving back into the yellow cloud. The class watched in surprise as the human moved through the increasingly thick gas. The readings on the wall showed toxicity levels that should have been harmful to most carbon-based life. Sam reached Korik and began applying a solution from another emergency kit directly to the Dravidi's hardening surface. The reaction was immediate. Korik's crystal-like structure began to soften. By the time the ventilation systems had cleared the gas, Sam had guided Korik to the exit. Both of them were covered in chemical residue that the cleaning field quickly removed. "That was dangerous," Professor Zixtilek said, though her tone showed she was impressed. "How did you know what to do?" Lyra asked as medical drones checked the affected students. Sam shrugged, seeming genuinely confused by the question. "We learned about similar reactions in basic chemistry on Earth, and humans have dealt with many mining and industrial accidents involving similar chemicals. It's basic emergency training." The class was quiet as they realized that what had been life-threatening for most species was considered a routine hazard on Earth. The incident in the laboratory changed how the class viewed Sam. He was no longer seen as just a curiosity, but as a valuable friend whose unique perspective might be useful in a crisis. Even Korik, normally quiet, had expressed his thanks and newfound respect. Today's class focused on theoretical xenobiology, specifically how life forms adapt to survive in extreme environments. "Your assignment," Professor Zixtilek announced, "is to propose a theoretical organism that could survive in conditions widely considered hostile to life as we know it. You'll present your designs next week." The students broke into their assigned groups. Sam found himself working with Lyra, Korik, and Drex, who had fully recovered from the laboratory incident. "I suggest we design for a methane-based environment," Lyra proposed. "The chemical possibilities are fascinating." "Too common," Korik rumbled. "Every year someone does methane-based life. We should consider something truly challenging, like a neutron star environment." "That's physically impossible," Drex rippled with the Morphean equivalent of laughter. "Even theoretical biology has limits." Sam had been quiet, drawing something on his datapad. "What about this?" he finally said, turning the display toward his groupmates. The three aliens leaned in to examine his design, a complex organism that appeared to use both biological and mineral components in its structure. "What environment is this designed for?" Lyra asked, her head tilted in curiosity. "A planet with extreme temperature changes?" "Surface temperatures going between -150 and +450 Celsius within a single day," Sam explained. Korik's crystalline eyes widened. "No biological organism could survive such changes. The cell structure would break down. Not if it uses a form of biological hibernation during temperature extremes, combined with a mineral outer shell that can contract or expand," Sam countered. "I based it on some extreme bacteria from Earth that can survive in volcanic vents and polar ice." "Such bacteria exist on your planet?" Drex asked in disbelief. "Sure, we've got organisms that can survive in space vacuum inside nuclear reactors. And in sulfuric acid, life finds a way." Sam continued explaining his design, describing mechanisms that seemed both fantastical and oddly plausible. As the group worked, other students began drifting over, intrigued by the animated discussion. By the end of the class period, nearly everyone had contributed some idea to Sam's initial design, creating a theoretical organism unlike anything in their textbooks. When presentation day arrived, their group's design caused a sensation. Professor Zixtilek spent nearly 30 minutes questioning Sam about his inspirations and the biological principles involved. "Mr. Wright," she said finally, "are you telling us that your design is actually based on existing organisms from Earth?" "Parts of it, yes," Sam confirmed. "I just combined adaptations from different species and thought about the possibilities." "Fascinating," the professor murmured. "It seems we have much to learn from Earth's biodiversity." "Perhaps what makes a Deathworld is not just its dangers, but the remarkable adaptations it inspires." The class ended with a stunned silence as students thought about the implications. If Earth's harsh conditions had produced such resilient life forms, what did that suggest about humans themselves? The academic year was drawing to a close. Sam had not only survived but thrived at the Galactic Academy, earning top marks in practical applications while still struggling somewhat with the theoretical aspects of xenobiology. The final examination was approaching, a comprehensive test of everything they had learned, ending with a practical emergency simulation in the experimental chamber. "The simulation will test your ability to apply xenobiological principles in a crisis situation," Professor Zixtilek explained. "You will be evaluated not only on your knowledge but on your adaptability and decision-making under pressure." The night before the exam, students gathered in study groups across campus. Sam joined Lyra, Korik, Drex, and several others in the common area of their dormitory. "I'm worried about the atmospheric variables," Lyra admitted, reviewing her notes. "There are too many possible combinations to prepare for." "Focus on basic principles," Sam suggested. "If you understand the basic interactions, you can figure out the specifics as you go." The next morning, the class assembled outside the experimental chamber. Professor Zixtilek greeted them with unusual seriousness. "Today's examination will be different," she announced. "There has been an incident at the research station on Epsilon X. The faculty has decided that our class, with its diverse biological capabilities, would be ideally suited to assist in the emergency response. This will be your final examen, real-world application of your studies." Whispers of surprise and concern spread through the group. "Participation is voluntary," the professor continued. "Those who prefer not to join the response team will take the standard examination as planned." Without hesitation, Sam stepped forward. "I volunteer." One by one, the other students joined him until the entire class had committed to the mission. The situation on Epsilon X was bad. A research station studying local plants had been compromised when an unknown pathogen began affecting both the local ecosystem and the research team. The diverse biology of the Academy students made them uniquely qualified to assist different species would have different resistances, allowing them to work in conditions that might disable others. Upon arrival, the class was divided into teams. Sam, Lyra, and Korik were assigned to reach the primary laboratory, where samples of the pathogen were stored. Drex and others would assist the medical team in treating affected researchers. The station was in chaos. Plant life had grown explosively, breaking through walls and floors. Several researchers were trapped by rapidly growing vines that seemed to react to movement. The pathogen appears to speed up plant growth and make them aggressive, Lyra observed as they carefully navigated the overgrown corridors. But how? Is it affecting the researchers? Look at the patterns, Sam said, pointing to the vines wrapped around an unconscious researcher. They're growing along the nervous system? I think they're responding to electrical impulses. Korik used his strength to clear a path while Sam analyzed environmental readings. The concentration is highest near the ventilation system, he noted. That's how it spread so quickly. When they reached the laboratory, they found it completely overtaken by vegetation. The sample containment unit was barely visible beneath a tangle of aggressive plant growth. We need to neutralize it at the source, Sam said. Lyra, can you reach the environmental controls? If we can lower the temperature enough, it might slow the growth rate. As Lyra worked on the controls, an alarm sounded. Containment breach in Sector 7, announced the station's AI. Explosive decompression imminent. That's where Drex and the others are, Korik exclaimed. Sam made a quick decision. Korik, go help them. Your exoskeleton can withstand brief vacuum exposure. Lyra and I will handle this. As Korik departed, Sam turned to Lyra. We need to think like Earth plants. He said, an idea forming. On my planet, certain plants require fire to germinate. What if extreme conditions are part of this species' life cycle? Understanding dawned in Lyra's eyes. So instead of fighting it, we give it what it wants, Sam finished. A simulated forest fire control, but intense enough to trigger the next phase of its cycle. Working together, they rigged the laboratory's plasma conduits to create a carefully controlled energy surge. The effect was immediate. The aggressive growth retracted, forming protective spores that fell dormant. By the time the emergency response ships arrived, the Academy team had stabilized the situation. Professor Zixtilik moved among her students, observing their work with unmistakable pride. Mr. Wright, she said, approaching Sam as he helped administer treatment to the recovering researchers, your solution was unexpected. Sometimes on Earth, the best way to ensure forest health is a controlled burn, he explained. Destruction as a path to renewal. The professor nodded thoughtfully. Another paradox of your Deathworld. What seems like danger is sometimes necessary for life to thrive. She paused, then added, I believe we've all learned something valuable from having you in our class. As the students prepared to return to the Academy, Lyra found Sam staring out a viewport at the stars. You know, she said, when you first arrived, we all thought you were at a disadvantage, coming from such a harsh world. Sam smiled. And now? Now I think perhaps we were the disadvantaged ones, she replied. Our worlds protected us too. Well, we never had to develop the adaptability that seems so natural to you. Later, as the transport ship broke orbit, the students of the xenobiology class looked at their human classmate with new eyes. The Deathworld kid had not only survived among them, he had thrived. And in doing so, he had taught them all that. Resilience comes not from avoiding hardship, but from embracing the challenges that forge strength. In the ship's common area, Professor Zixtilik made an announcement. Based on your performance today, I am pleased to inform you that all of you have passed your final examination. Moreover, the Galactic Science Council has expressed interest in establishing a permanent exchange program with Earth. The news was met with enthusiastic approval, especially from a class that had learned firsthand the value of diversity in problem solving. As celebrations began, Sam found himself surrounded by friends who no longer saw him as strange or fragile, but as a valuable ally forged in the crucible of a world they had once only feared. The Deathworld kid had indeed left his alien class, speechless not with his weakness, but with his strength. 3 months later, Sam stood in the arrival bay of the Galactic Academy, watching as a small transport ship docked. This would be the second cohort of human students to join the Academy, following the success of Sam's pioneering year. Nervous? Lyra asked, standing beside him. She had volunteered, along with Korik and Drex, to help orient the new Earth students. A little, Sam admitted. I hope they're ready for this. Are any humans truly ready for the vastness of galactic society? Korik rumbled, his crystalline eyes reflecting the lights of the approaching ship. Sam laughed. Probably not. But adaptability is our specialty? The airlock cycled open, and 5 humans of varying ages and appearances stepped through. They looked around with the same mixture of awe and apprehension that Sam had felt a year earlier. Professor Zixtilek glided forward to greet them. Welcome to the Galactic Academy of Sciences. You are following in the footsteps of a remarkable pioneer. She gestured towards Sam, who stepped forward with a reassuring smile. The first thing you should know, he said to the newcomers, is that you're more prepared for this than you realize. Earth has trained you well. One of the new arrivals, a young woman with dark hair, looked skeptical. How could Earth possibly prepare us for this? She asked, gesturing at the alien architecture and diverse life forms visible through the bay windows. Earth is classified as a Class 12 Deathworld, Sam explained. Most species consider our planet to be one of the most hostile environments, capable of supporting complex life. The gravity, the atmospheric composition, the temperature variations, the biological diversity, they're all extreme by galactic standards. You're saying we're tough? Asked another newcomer, a tall man with a skeptical expression. I'm saying we're adaptable, Sam corrected. And in a universe of specialists, adaptability is rare and valuable. As Sam led the group on a tour of the Academy, he shared stories of his experiences, the physical challenges, the chemical incident, the theoretical xenobiology project, and the emergency response mission that had served as their final exam. The key thing to remember, he told them as they paused in the grand observatory dome, the spiral arm of the galaxy spread out before them, is that what we consider normal on Earth is extraordinary out here? The very challenges that shaped humanity have given us perspectives and capabilities that can change the galaxy. Later that evening, as the new students settled into their quarters, Professor Zixtilek approached Sam in the common area. You've become quite the ambassador, Mr. Wright, she observed. A far cry from the nervous student who first entered my classroom, Sam smiled. I had good teachers. And the galaxy will have more good teachers because of it, she replied. The exchange program is expanding to 3 more academies next year. Your Deathworld perspective is in high demand. 1 year after Sam graduated from the Galactic Academy, he returned as a teaching assistant for Professor Zixtilek's xenobiology class. The exchange program with Earth had grown, with 15 human students now studying across various departments. Today was special. The Academy was hosting representatives from the Galactic Council for a demonstration of interspecies cooperation. Sam stood beside Professor Zixtilek as she addressed the gathered dignitaries. Distinguished visitors, today we will demonstrate how diversity of biological perspectives enhances our problem-solving capabilities, she said, her 6 appendages moving in formal patterns. Our students will perform a series of challenges designed to showcase their unique adaptations. Sam noticed several council members looking skeptical, particularly a tall, willowy being from the Centaurian delegation. The Centaurians were known for their technological superiority and often dismissed Earth as a primitive backwater. We will begin with Challenge 1, Survival in Varied Environments, Professor Zixtilek announced. The experimental chamber had been configured into 5 distinct zones, each replicating a different planetary environment. Teams of mixed species would need to navigate all 5 zones to retrieve a target object. Sam joined a team with Lyra, who was now in her final year, along with Korik, a new human student named Alice, and a gelatinous Morphean named Glip. Remember, Sam advised his team, each of us has environments we're suited for and ones we'll struggle with. Work to your strengths. The first zone was a high-gravity, high-pressure environment similar to a gas giant's upper atmosphere. Korik took the lead here, his dense body structure allowing him to move efficiently while the others struggled. The second zone mimicked a methane ice world with temperatures approaching absolute zero. Here, Glip excelled, their amorphous body able to flow across the slippery surface while maintaining core temperature. The third zone was a radiation-soaked crystalline desert. Lyra's reflective scales provided natural protection, allowing her to navigate the hazardous terrain. When they reached the fourth zone, a highly acidic swamp with toxic vapors, Alice surprised everyone by moving forward confidently. "Be careful," Lyra called out. "The acidity levels are extreme." Alice smiled. "I grew up near a volcanic region on Earth. The sulfur content in our local hot springs was much higher than this." She navigated the swamp with practiced ease, finding a safe path for the others. The final zone was designed to be universally challenging, a chaotic environment with rapidly shifting conditions, from electrical storms to sudden gravity fluctuations. "This requires all of us," Sam said. "No single adaptation will work. Working together, they formed a chain." Korik anchored them against gravity shifts, Glip absorbed electrical discharges, Lyra used her multiple limbs to maintain their course, and Alice identified safe moments to advance based on her experience with Earth's unpredictable weather patterns. Sam coordinated their movements, adapting their strategy as conditions changed. They reached the target object first, several minutes ahead of the other teams. As they exited the chamber, Sam noticed the Centaurian representative watching with increased interest. "Most impressive," Professor Zixtilek said. "Now we proceed to Challenge 2, Novel Problem Resolution." This challenge presented teams with an unknown biological sample and tasked them with determining its properties and potential applications. Their sample was a pulsating purple moss that seemed to repel all attempts at analysis. "Conventional. Scanners aren't working," Lyra observed. "It seems to absorb or deflect the scanning beams." "The structure reminds me of certain deep-sea organisms from Earth," Alice said, carefully observing the moss's behavior. "They've evolved to survive under extreme pressure by manipulating their molecular density." Sam had an idea. "What if we try communicating with it instead of scanning it?" "Many Earth plants respond to vibrations or chemical signals," Korik rumbled skeptically. "Plants don't communicate." "Actually, they do," Sam explained. "On Earth, forest trees share resources and warnings through underground fungal networks. They respond to threats by producing chemicals that signal danger to nearby plants. Under Sam's guidance, they exposed the moss to various gentle stimuli light patterns, sound frequencies, and mineral solutions. The moss eventually responded to a specific combination of calcium and low-frequency vibrations, unfurling to reveal bioluminescent structures. "It's not just a plant," Glip observed, their translucent body rippling with excitement. "It's a symbiotic colony like my species." By understanding the moss as a community rather than a single organism, they were able to establish a basic form of interaction. The moss responded to their signals by changing color patterns, effectively communicating. The Centaurian representative approached their workstation. "Your approach was unconventional," they said, their melodious voice betraying surprise. "Earth's biodiversity has taught us to expect the unexpected," Sam replied. "When conventional analysis fails, we look for relationship patterns." The final challenge was presented by the Centaurian representative themselves. A crisis simulation involving a space station affected by an unknown pathogen that was causing technology failures. Most teams immediately focused on containing the pathogen and repairing systems. Sam's team took a different approach. "What if it's not a pathogen at all?" Sam suggested. "What if it's attempting communication?" Using the principles they had discovered with the purple moss, they established that the supposed pathogen was actually a silicon-based life form that had been accidentally brought aboard the station. It wasn't causing damage intentionally, it was trying to integrate with systems it perceived as similar to itself. By establishing communication protocols, they were able to negotiate with the entity, convincing it to withdraw from critical systems while providing it with a designated habitat in non-essential systems, where it could thrive without causing harm. When the challenges concluded, the council representatives gathered to discuss what they had observed. The Centaurian approached Sam. "Your species' approach to problem-solving is unique," they said. "You consistently anthropomorphize non-sentient systems. Yet this seemingly irrational approach yields effective results." Sam smiled. "On a death world like Earth, survival often depends on understanding the intentions and patterns of other life forms. We evolve to see relationships and possibilities rather than just threats and resources." Professor Zixtilic joined them. "The Council has approved expanded funding for the Earth Exchange Program," she announced. They were particularly impressed by the adaptive problem-solving demonstrated today. Later, as Sam watched the Council ships depart, Lyra stood beside him. "You've changed how the galaxy sees humans," she said. "When you first arrived, everyone thought Earth was just a dangerous backwater. Now they're beginning to understand. That danger created something valuable," Sam nodded. "The harshest environments often produce the most remarkable adaptations. Earth taught us to bend without breaking, to find opportunity in crisis, and to recognize that sometimes the most dangerous thing can become your greatest ally if you understand it properly." 5 years had passed since Sam first walked into the xenobiology classroom at the Galactic Academy. Now he stood on the bridge of the research vessel Horizon, serving as the chief xenobiologist on the first joint human-alien deep space expedition. The ship was exploring a newly discovered star system at the edge of charted space. Early scans had detected unusual energy patterns from the third planet, possible signs of intelligent life. "Entering orbit in 5 minutes, announced Captain Vreen, a tall Arcturian with silvery skin. "All research teams prepare for preliminary observations." Sam checked his equipment one final time. His team included Lyra, now a respected researcher, in her own right, and 4 other specialists from different worlds. The diversity of perspectives had proven invaluable on previous missions. "Energy readings are stronger now," reported Korik from the sensor station. After graduation, he had joined the Galactic Science Corps alongside Sam and Lyra. "But there's something strange about the pattern. It's not consistent with any known technology." The main view screen showed a blue-green world with 2 small moons. Cloud patterns suggested a nitrogen-oxygen atmosphere, while vast oceans covered nearly 70% of the surface. "It looks like Earth," whispered Alice, who had joined the expedition as Sam's assistant, "except for the color of the land masses." Sam nodded. "Similar environmental conditions often produce similar evolutionary paths, but remember, looks can be deceiving." As the Horizon settled into a stable orbit, the sensor arrays gathered extensive data. The planet showed all the hallmarks of a thriving biosphere, complex ecosystems, diverse life forms, and the telltale atmospheric markers of biological activity. But the energy readings remained puzzling. They emanated from a region near the equator, pulsing in patterns that suggested intelligence rather than natural phenomena. "We need to take a closer look," Sam suggested. Permission to lead a surface expedition, Captain? Captain Vreen considered the request. "The environmental readings indicate conditions within tolerance ranges for most of your team. But these energy patterns concern me. We don't know what's generating them." "That's precisely why we should investigate," Sam replied. "If it is a form of intelligent life, first contact protocols would apply. And if it's a natural phenomenon, it could represent an important scientific discovery." After careful preparation, Sam led a team of 6 researchers to the surface in a shuttlecraft. They landed in a clearing several kilometers from the source of the energy readings. The planet's surface was both familiar and alien. Plants similar to Earth's trees rose around them, but their leaves were a deep purple rather than green. The air was breathable but carried unfamiliar scents. Gravity is approximately 1.2 times Earth standard, Lyra noted, her forearms efficiently setting up monitoring equipment. Temperature and humidity are within comfortable ranges for all team members. Sam took his first steps onto the alien soil. Despite countless simulations and previous missions to other worlds, the thrill of exploring a new planet never diminished. "Remember," he cautioned the team, "we observe first. No direct interaction with the local biology without proper analysis." They established a base camp and began a systematic survey, collecting samples and recording observations. The energy readings grew stronger as they approached a range of low hills to the east. On the second day, while examining a stream for microbial life, Sam noticed something unusual. The water seemed to flow in subtle patterns that defied the landscape's contours. "Lyra, look at this," he called. "The water flow doesn't match the gravitational gradient." Lyra studied the phenomenon. "You're right. It's as if the water is being guided somehow." Further observation revealed similar anomalies throughout the ecosystem. Plants grew in geometric arrangements too precise to be random. Animal paths formed networks that optimized resource distribution. "It's the planet," Sam realized suddenly. The entire ecosystem is connected, functioning as a single organism. The team's biologists confirmed Sam's hypothesis through extensive testing. The planet wasn't just supporting life, it was alive itself. The energy readings came from what appeared to be a central neural node, a biological processor that coordinated the entire planetary ecosystem. "It's like Earth's mycelium networks, but on a planetary scale," Sam explained during an emergency conference with the Horizons command staff. "The trees, animals, even the weather patterns, they're all parts of a unified system." The discovery was unprecedented. No known species had encountered a fully sentient planet before. "How do we communicate with it?" Captain Vreen asked. "If this is truly an intelligent entity, first contact protocols require us to establish communication before further study." Sam had been considering this question. "It already communicates through biological processes. The patterns we've observed in water flow, animal migration, and plant growth are its language. We just need to learn how to speak it." Over the next week, Sam's team worked to decode the planet's biological language. They discovered that by introducing specific bacterial cultures into the soil, they could send simple messages that the planet would respond to by altering growth patterns. Eventually, they established basic communication. The planet, which they learned called itself Deathworld in their rudimentary translations, was curious about these small, individual life forms that had arrived from the stars. The revelation sent shockwaves through the galactic scientific community. A living planet challenged fundamental assumptions about the nature of intelligence and life itself. On the final day of the initial expedition, Sam stood alone on a hilltop, feeling the gentle pulse of the living world beneath his feet. Lyra found him there as sunset approached. "The Galactic Council is calling this the most significant discovery of the century," she said. "And they're crediting your Deathworld perspective for making it possible," Sam smiled. "It wasn't just me. It was all of us, bringing our different viewpoints together. But it was your training on Earth that helped you see the connections." Lyra insisted. "The way you described Earth's forests communicating through fungal networks, that gave you the framework to recognize what was happening here." As they walked back to camp, Sam reflected on his journey from nervous student to respected xenobiologist. The harsh conditions of Earth, once seen as a liability, had prepared humanity to recognize patterns of survival and adaptation that other species missed. "You know," he said to Lyra, "when I first came to the academy, I was worried I wouldn't measure up to students from more advanced worlds. And now human perspectives are transforming galactic science," Lyra finished. "The Deathworld kid didn't just leave his class speechless, he changed how we understand life itself." Behind them, the planet pulsed with ancient awareness. The first of many living worlds waiting to be discovered by those who had learned to see life's endless adaptability.